Welcome to the Believe Podcast Network SoCal Sweat. My name is McDaniels, a former NFL cheerleader and product manager turned actress and model who dreams of being a UFC fighter. Meow. Learning strategies to help motivate others leads me to bring you interviews each week from a range of athletes, experts in fitness and nutrition, and so much more. Thanks for listening to Believe, the #1 podcast for working professionals, and let's push our endorphins to higher performance through SoCal Sweat. This is your host, Ann McDaniels, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode, a bonus episode of SoCal Sweat. Today, I just want to tell you a little bit about the mind diet and how we can prevent the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia in our 20s, 30s, and early 40s. It is never too early and it is never too late to protect your brain health. There is such a scary and negative stigma around brain illnesses like Alzheimer's and dementia. I'm sure you've all seen the movie The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks, where James Garner is married to this beautiful woman, and she has dementia, and then it turns to Alzheimer's, and he reads to her, and sometimes she remembers and sometimes she doesn't. And she says to him at one point, "To my love Noah, read this to me, and I'll come back to you." It's so difficult for couples or family members to deal with this because, as we know, once you have Alzheimer's and dementia, there's nothing you can do about it, so it has a really negative stigma. The good news is, in our early ages of 20s, 30s, and early 40s, we can actually prevent this by 60% with leading a very healthy lifestyle that feeds the brain. A new dementia case is diagnosed every 3 seconds. But we can start young and reduce our risk. Let's try to work on the following things to reduce our risk for dementia and Alzheimer's by 60%. We can avoid processed foods. We can eat other foods high in antioxidants, and I will highlight the mind diet to go over this. We can incorporate regular high-intensity interval training into our regimens. We can push our brains by learning an instrument, a new language, reading, always engaging our brains, and finally, have fun, healthy engagement in others that we really, really enjoy. All of these will prevent onset early Alzheimer's and dementia by 60% if we start young. I was very inspired to learn about Max Lugavere, who is an Instagram sensation and also a New York Times bestselling author of Genius Foods and The Genius Life. Many of the foods that Max talks about are actually referred to in official terms as the mind diet. The mind diet generally consists of anti-inflammatory foods. It's inflammation that can cause so many issues within our bodies. What is the mind diet? Well, it stands for Mediterranean diet and DASH diet combined. Basically, it is Mediterranean DASH intervention for neurodegenerative delay. The diet aims to reduce dementia and the decline in brain health that often occurs as people get older. It combines aspects of 2 very popular diets, the Mediterranean and the dietary approaches to stop hypertension, which is the DASH diet. Many experts regard the Mediterranean DASH diets as some of the healthiest, and research has shown that they can lower blood pressure and reduce the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and other diseases. But researchers wanted to create a diet specifically to help improve brain function and prevent dementia. So to do this, they combine the foods from the Mediterranean and DASH diets that has been shown to benefit brain health. So the mind diet encourages its followers to eat berries but not emphasize consuming fruit in general, which is a major difference between the two of them. And currently there are no set guidelines for how to follow the mind diet, but simply to eat more of the 10 foods the diet encourages you to eat and less of the 5 foods the diet recommends that you limit. So again, in summary, the mind diet combines the DASH and Mediterranean diets to create a diet aimed at reducing the risk of dementia and decline in brain health that people often experience as they age. Now, what are the 10 foods to eat on the mind diet? Number 1, green leafy vegetables. There was a study at Rush University that said that if you eat a big salad once a day, specifically filled with kale, arugula, and spinach, you can actually reduce your brain health by 11 years, making you 11 years younger. Aim for 6 or more servings per week. And again, this includes kale, spinach, cooked greens, and salads. All other vegetables. Try to eat another vegetable in addition to the green leafy vegetables at least once a day. It is best to choose the non-starchy vegetables like corn and potatoes because they have a lot of nutrients with a lower number of calories. Berries. Eat berries at least twice a week. Although the published research only includes strawberries, you should also consume other berries like blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries for their antioxidant benefits. The darker, the better. Nuts. Try to get 5 servings of nuts or more per week. The creators of the Mind Diet don't specify what types of nuts to consume, but it's probably best to vary the types of nuts you eat to obtain a different variety of nutrients, and that is dry roasted. Olive oil. Use olive oil as your main cooking oil, as opposed to canola or vegetable or soybean oil. And that's always hard because you hear controversies on all, but olive oil, specifically from the Mediterranean diet to add to the DASH diet, is much, much healthier. Whole grains. Aim for at least 3 servings daily. Choose whole grains like oatmeal, quinoa, brown rice, whole wheat pasta, and 100% whole wheat bread. Fish. Eat fish at least once a week, and it is best to choose fatty fish like salmon, sardines, trout, tuna, and mackerel for their high amounts of wonderful omega-3 fatty acids. Beans. Include beans in at least 4 meals per week, and this includes all beans like lentils and soybeans. Try to eat chicken or turkey at least once per week with the poultry. Note that fried chicken, although really delicious, is not encouraged on the Mind Diet. We don't like to hear that, but it is true. And finally, wine. That's wonderful. Aim for no more than 1 glass daily, but both the red and the white may benefit the brain. However, much more research has been focused on the red wine compound resveratrol, which can definitely help protect against Alzheimer's disease. If you are unable to target the amount of servings, don't quit the Mind Diet altogether. Research has shown that following the Mind Diet, even with a moderate amount, is associated with a reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease. And when you're following the diet, you can eat more than just these 10 foods, but really try to stick to the diet. And more yet, the Mind Diet encourages the consumption of all kinds of vegetables, berries, nuts, olive oil, whole grains, fish, beans, poultry, and the moderate amount of wine. And you can even add some dark chocolate. But let's keep in mind the 5 foods to avoid on the Mind Diet. And it's always, of course, the processed foods. But number 1 would be butter and margarine. Try to eat less than 1 tablespoon or about 14 grams daily. Instead, try to use olive oil as your primary cooking fat and dipping your bread in olive oil with herbs, which is absolutely delicious. Cheese. Oh, I'm sorry. I live in California, the dairy state, and I'm from, originally, Wisconsin, the actual dairy state. Cheese. I love cheese too, but the Mind Diet recommends limiting your cheese consumption to at least once per week. Or less than 1 per week. I was tricking you there. Are you paying attention? Red meat. Aim for no more than 3 servings each week. This includes all beef, pork, lamb, and products made from these meats, and really try to aim for grass-fed as opposed to corn, grain, or wheat-fed. Oh, that delicious fried food. The Mind Diet highly discourages fried food, especially the kind from the wonderful fast food restaurants with their just wonderful smells. But drive on, folks, drive on. Or don't call Postmates. Limit your consumption to at least once per week. Well, I'm just the messenger. And the bad one for me is pastries and sweets. Avoid the pastries and sweets, and this includes, of course, the double-stuffed Oreos, the processed junk food and desserts, all the wonderful things you can think of like ice cream, cookies, brownies, snack cakes, donuts, candy, and so much more of that passionate, sugary stuff that we try to limit these to no more than 4 times a week. But hey, 4 times a week is pretty good. So researchers encourage limiting your consumption of these foods because they contain saturated fats and trans fats, and they found that trans fats are clearly associated with all sorts of diseases, including heart disease and definitely Alzheimer's disease. But the health effects of saturated fat are widely debated in the nutrition world. Again, the MIND diet encourages limiting your consumption of butter and margarine, cheese, red meat, fried food, pastries, and sweets because they contain large amounts of trans fat and saturated fat. So that, folks, is the MIND diet, which is a combination of the Mediterranean and the DASH diet, which is a low hypertension diet. Now, if you eat the foods on the MIND diet and you incorporate high-intensity interval training, exercise, brain games, socialization, we can really reduce our risk for Alzheimer's and dementia by 60% in our youthful ages. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that we continue to raise the awareness of dementia and Alzheimer's and lose the stigma. And check out Max Lugavere's Genius Life and Genius Foods book. He's got some great tips, and if you have anybody, any family members, anybody that you love with any of these diseases, I just cheer you on and I encourage you with great positivity, and I know it's hard. But in the words of Max Lugavere of Genius Foods, let's make dementia sexy, meaning raise the awareness. Let's do early prevention so that we can reduce our risk by 60%. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all a wonderful weekend. We appreciate you for listening, and please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. You can also listen on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Luminary, TuneIn, or at Believe.com. You can certainly reach out to me for any questions or topics you'd like covered on the show at Ann McDaniels or Ann McDaniels Actress. And I'll see you next time on So Cal Sweat.